Welcome into All Things Retirement. Ben George with Anthony Aulffo. He is a certified financial planner, founder of the Cardinal Wealth Group. And today we're talking about what happens after you've maxed out your 401k. What are your options? If you want to save more, if you're someone that is really passionate about trying to save for the future, what is available to you at that point? So we'll break it all down today with Anthony. So Anthony, let's kind of dive in. Here's a question that is kind of spurring this conversation a little bit, and then I'll get into your answer as we move forward. So my wife and I both got new jobs recently with significant raises for both of us. We're both about 10 years from retirement and don't want to waste this opportunity to save more than we ever have. The only problem is that now we apparently make too much to be able to contribute to IRA. So after we max out our 401ks, then what do we do? So the good situation to be in. So about 10 years out from retirement, Anthony, what are some of the questions what's kind of going through your head right now as you work through this question here?
Yeah, I think it's one of those times in people's lives where their retirements, you can kind of start to see it, so to speak, and they kind of pick their heads up and are kind of saying, well, where am I headed? How am I doing? And what can I do to maximize the result between now and then? And so it's certainly a common question when we get folks that are in that similar position. We would typically go through kind of a hierarchy of options to consider. Might not be like always specifically in order, because sometimes some of these options are not available. It could depend on their income levels, how much they're able to spend. How much they're able to save. Do they have other goals? Because a lot of times when you're talking about saving, they might have, let's say, a specific amount of money that they could apply towards different types of goals that they might have. Some of those goals could be a short-term thing of like a home upgrade to, obviously securing their retirement, helping out a kid for education, a wedding, and stuff like that. So they could have multiple things that they're trying to save for that could, also lead us into a different direction. But if I was just kind of going through the hierarchy, after kind of their 401k, I would this would kind of be the order more or less. It would be somewhere between an HSA and an IRA would be two items that I would kind of consider as it relates to retirement. So an HSA plan being a health savings account that is easy to save into, especially if it's part of their deducted via payroll. I find that systematic savings are one of the easiest ways for people to save, kind of out of sight, out of mind. It gets pulled right from their paycheck. Not every company has an HSA option, but if they do, the benefits are that the tax advantages there. So obviously they get a tax deduction for putting the money in to the HSA. The money can grow tax-free, and the money comes out tax-free. So it's like triple tax advantage. They can use it now if they needed it for health purpose, or obviously they can actually invest the money inside the HSA and use it for a later time, like when they're into retirement. So it's a great retirement tool. There's obviously limits around it. At the individual level, it's roughly like $4,400 this year, and about $8,700 for a family. There is a catch up as well if you're over 55, where you can put an additional $1,000 in. So I think that's a good option for people to consider as it relates to retirement. And then I would probably go to a Roth IRA. Okay. The Roth IRA, now you have to look at some of the phase out rules based off of your income. So it's an equation called modified adjusted gross income. Basically, it's just kind of looking at your total household income for the year without some of the deductions that you would normally look at. If you are under that, then you could contribute to a Roth IRA. The benefits there, again, now that we're using our after-tax money, after-tax money, we're looking to put into this Roth because it gets to grow tax-free. And when you take it out in retirement, it comes out tax-free. So it's a nice different type of bucket to pull from in retirement. If you are over that amount, some people don't think that they're able to contribute, but there is kind of a loophole called a backdoor Roth contribution. So it's just a way to get money into a Roth. It's a very common procedure that we do with our clients that can not just put the money into a Roth IRA because they're in that phase out or above amount where they can't directly put it in. So it's kind of a two-step process where you would actually take money. We create what's called kind of like a shell account into a non-deductible IRA. I know we're getting a little wordy here on this process, but basically you can put money into a non-deductible IRA, the same amount as you could typically put into an IRA, which is $7,000 or $8,000 for a catch-up if you're over 50. You put money into a non-deductible IRA, and then basically the next day you convert it into the money into a Roth IRA. So the main word catchphrase here is Roth contribution versus Roth conversion. So there are no limits to Roth conversion. So because of that, if we take money from, say, our savings account, we put it into a non-deductible IRA. You're not getting a tax deduction for this, again, because it's already after-tax money. And so you put that in there, no limit for that. And then basically the next day you convert it into your Roth IRA. So you kind of have to set up two accounts. It's important that if you have a regular IRA already, that you don't put the money into that account, because now it's kind of commingled with pre-tax dollars and after-tax dollars, and that would kind of mess up that you wouldn't be able to convert it tax-free. So you kind of need a separate account for this. So most of the times if we're talking about two spouses, we'll set up a non-deductible IRA for each spouse, pull the money from, say, their savings account, put the $7,000 in there, and then the next day we'll convert it into the Roth IRA for each spouse. So it's kind of two steps to get there, but you get to the same place for somebody who's underneath those limits who are able to make those contributions. So I always say that this is one where it's like if you're not into doing finances yourself and understanding things, it would be one of those where I would kind of recommend working with a financial advisor on.
Yeah, I think that's good advice just in general here, because these are, again, some not super sophisticated strategies, but stuff that maybe outside the box, or maybe people that are around you in your life just aren't as familiar with, and you want somebody to make sure you're picking out the right option here. So you started HSAs, the backdoor Roth there. What other options would somebody in this situation have for saving?
Yeah, another one would be kind of at your company, a mega backdoor Roth. So not every plan is going to have this as an option, but we have a lot of clients that are obviously still working that max out their 401k. Let's just say for them, it's $24,000 a year. There can be higher limits depending on your age, but let's just use 24,000 that they maxed it out, and it's now August. They still have, September, October, November, December that they would still like to deduct monies from their paycheck. So a lot of 401k plans have what's called an after-tax dollars account. And basically, you don't get the tax deduction like you do for putting it into the 401k. So it would be after-tax money, but the money gets to grow tax deferred, as you save into it. So not every plan has it, but it's one of those things where you would just want to check with your HR department if that's something that you have. But to take it a step further, what you could do, if they allow it, is convert those after-tax dollars into a Roth account. Or do what's called in-service distributions, where you can roll that money out into a Roth IRA. So if it just stayed in the after-tax account, and let's say you put $100,000 in there over, the last 5-10 years, when that money comes out, let's say when you sort of take distributions and that account grew from 100 to 200,000, you have a $100,000 gain that is taxable to you. So the benefits of doing what's called a mega backdoor Roth is that by converting those after-tax account dollars to a Roth, is that now that gain that we're just talking about, that $100,000 gain example, that money would now be tax-free. So the full 200 would be tax-free. So the things that you would want to check with is with your, say, HR department is, do we have an after-tax account that I can continue to save into once I reach my maxed out limit for my regular 401k deductions? And then secondly, do I have the ability to convert those after-tax dollars into the Roth inside my 401k plan, which would be kind of like a separate account. So you could actually have 3 accounts within your 401k, the pre-tax, the after-tax, and then the Roth. Some do, some don't. If you don't have that Roth conversion option within your 401k, then you can also find out if you're allowed to do in-service distributions and roll over the after-tax portion to a Roth IRA, which would be a separate account at a different place, which would, again, get you to the same place if you had that 401k option, conversion option within your plan. So it's not just having a Roth 401k portion that you save into. This is like a Roth conversion, again, kind of similar to what we kind of talked about with the backdoor Roth, but you're able to do higher amounts. So that's a great strategy for somebody to look at. But again, one of those where you might not have that.
Yeah. Opportunity to talk with your HR and just kind of review everything there to see if that is offered, if that is a position that you're in, if you're making enough money to take advantage of that. All right. A couple more options here as well, Anthony. What else do we have next?
Yeah, I'd say the kind of bread and butter would be the regular taxable brokerage account. So again, this is one of those that is always available. It's just an after-tax account. There's no contribution limits. There's no withdrawal restrictions. Maybe a little less tax efficient than, say, a Roth, but certainly flexible, very useful for folks who need to access money prior to 59 and a half. And yeah, they're just a regular non-retirement account that you just put money into, and you can have obviously any type of asset allocation that you want to something that's super conservative to aggressive and everywhere in between those two extremes. I look at this a lot of times for folks who have an overabundance of savings that they want to put some money to work. And I say, well, let's set up what we'll call kind of our tier 2 savings account, where we know we can link it to your bank account, but let's transfer some money over and get some of this money working for you so you don't have as much of a tax drag. And certainly one of those areas, if the backdoor Roth is not an option, or they're all already maxing out the Roth IRA on top, what's the next place we look at? That would be that taxable brokerage account. Like I said, a little less tax efficient because you're dealing with capital gains, interest, and stuff like that. So you want to be also a little bit mindful what type of investments that you're putting in there to make sure they're tax efficient. And we call that asset location strategy, which we've talked about on previous episodes, where we want to put maybe muni bonds in there for higher earners. We'll look at tax loss harvest strategies. We'll look at tax efficient investments like ETFs that are super passive, that don't create a lot of turnover, which basically translates into taxes. So that would be an area that we would certainly utilize for people who have a lot of extra money and looking for places to save. The last one would be, those would be like the 4 main, I would say. The last one could be something like an annuity or cash value life insurance. Not always being used. It really comes down to, cost, complexity, what we're trying to achieve, what their goals. Did they inherit money? Are they looking to protect for like legacy or some inheritance, estate planning purposes? So the annuities and the cash value life insurance could just be one of those other tools in the bag where it could make some sense or not, depending on the situation.
Okay, so 5 great options to consider. if you're in this position, and it's a good position to be in. If you're looking to catch up, or maybe you have a little more income than you've had before and you want to start saving a little bit more to prepare for retirement, these are some options there in order from what maybe Anthony would typically walk through with his clients. But if you want to actually dive into what makes the most sense for you, reach out directly, cardinalwg.com. Everything is in the show notes in terms of getting in touch, and make it easy for you to begin your Cardinal success journey as well with that free assessment. So some things to think about. If you have questions, please reach out. But we appreciate you watching. Again, we'd love to hear from you. Subscribe, leave a comment. We'll talk to you again soon right here on All Things Retirement.
Information provided is for informational purposes only and does not constitute tax, investment, or legal advice. Please consult a qualified professional before taking any action.